All right, and we're back with another Q&A video. This one is about unawakened vampirism. It hasn't been suggested, but I felt because I did a video on what is an awakening that I do one on the unawakened, because it's not a subject that gets touched on very often, and I feel that there is a miscommunication and a distortion of what psychic vampirism is. Uh, and it's rarely talked about. I've seen YouTube channels, videos, and even books by authors where they come from this approach where psychic vampirism is a very bad thing, that these are people that you shouldn't have in your life, that, you know, there's something and scary about little me, that somehow I am a dangerous person, that I am a toxic individual in your life. I don't even know if that's true. I try to be as nice to everyone as I possibly can be, whether I hate you or not. A lot of people that I dislike don't even realize that I dislike them. But if someone needed a reason to hate me, I could give them several. That's, of course, if they needed one. I am entirely in control of my facilities, except for my subconscious. That's pretty rare. For me, my conscious and my subconscious is not very mixed together. Usually my subconscious will get the better of me when I'm sleeping. When my subconscious is awake, my consciousness is sleeping. And that's when I have slip-ups. That is the only time I have slip-ups. So things like astral projection, dream walking, lucid dreaming, that's where I make mistakes as a psychic vampire. I intrude into places that I wouldn't normally intrude into. It's certainly not voluntarily. And when I make those mistakes, as soon as I can become conscious to them, I put a stop to it. So what I'm basically trying to say is that when I'm awake and I'm in entirely control of my facilities in the waking world, I don't have any slip-ups. That's very rare for a Psy-Vamp. I mean, every once in a while someone will get too close to me and they're just like, wow, you know, I just got really tired. And I'm like, oops. And I'm just like, oh, give that back. You know, sorry, my bad. I had no idea I was munching on you unintentionally. You know, I tried to energetically, you know, apologize, catch myself as soon as possible and stop. And you know, it's sort of like, you know, when you catch a dog eating something it shouldn't, you're like, what are you eating? And they look at you and they're just like, and it's like, give it back. You know, that's kind of the mental and physical fight that I have with myself. You know, being a Psy-Vamp is like having an internal vacuum, and some people don't know where the on and off switch is. And I try to the best of my ability to make sure that my vacuum is completely unplugged most of the time, unless I'm doing something on purpose, which means I've asked for permission. Because you should ask for permission, because it's karmically wrong to not do so. Taking without asking is stealing. But there are people in the community that know nothing about control. That they had, you know, one psychic surge in their life and it scared the crud out of them, and they put a tinfoil hat on for the rest of their lives, and they ignored every psychic activity, every spook, every jump in energy that they ever felt. They completely ignored. and these people are unawakened. Now, that's, as the unawakened spectrum goes, people that are harmless, they're the ones that are denying themselves. They're the ones that are ignoring the problem. And they go on and are entirely productive in their day-to-day life. And then there's the other side of the spectrum where these people are they're burn bridges with people, they take advantage of people, they blame people for their problems, they're shit starters, they're drama queens. And it can get so bad that not only they are causing problems in their lives, but they're causing problems in other lives of anyone who's close to them at all. That's the real danger zone. Is that when you are vampiric in nature, you have a beacon, and you have to be careful because people are attracted to that light. And most of the people that are attracted to that light, when you are awakened, are unawakened people. There is a thing that they can sense that says, you can help me. And mostly you're just like, ah, get off. Yeah. True story. I can't tell you how many people have clinged to me, and I've just been like, get away. Get away. There are times where I've had to alter my beacon to become more like a bug light, where people are like, the light, I can't help it, it's so beautiful. And they're like, no, stay away from the light. Yow! Fred! I'm just like over here like, how do you like me now? It's very difficult to make the decision on who to help. Salvador had a great analogy about people who were unawakened. And he said, gee, why do you want to help this person? He said, if you know that they're Anakin Skywalker and they're going to become Darth Vader later, why help them? And I was like, you have a very, very good point, that this is playing with fire. That when you think there's a possibility that you can help people that are unawakened, whether they realize that they're vampiric in nature or not, whether they're part of the community or not, you are taking a risk. And really, you can take that risk up until the fact that you realize that they are Darth Vader. Is that in the beginning, Anakin Skywalker was a great person. Salvador is definitely right. But there are only so many things that you can do to help these people before you can't help them any further. You can give them the tools to find water in the desert, but you cannot give them water. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make, is that they give water to these people that are thirsting and don't allow them the tools to make their own water. Once you give someone the tools to find their own water, once you give them the information about their vampiric nature, it's up to them to take responsibility for it, to take control of it, to realize that what they've been doing is something that they can no longer do. Which comes up to the possibility of a pseudo-awakening, which happens a lot. Awakening takes quite a long time. It's a process. And every once in a while, someone will start their awakening and go through the process and go, oh, that was too much for me, and backpedal. And I mean, I kind of feel like my own saying awakening was like that, is that I knew something was going on with me at the age of 13, but I fought it until the age of 18, until I couldn't fight it anymore. Eventually, that's what an awakening is. It's your physicality and your etheric body, the very barcode on your soul flashing you in the face and saying you cannot continue to live in the dark. I've heard awakenings described as being like in a dark cave or being on a path in the dark, and it is necessary to make light. and to continue making that light and continuing to gain that knowledge and walking that path. But there are people that bite off more than they can chew, and it scares them, and it ends up being a detriment. No matter how much I tell you that there are friends down the road, family, incredible lifelong connections, warmth, love, trust, and incredible experiences, it's really someone else. It's really not up to me. But there are also other things down that path that if you are not prepared for, that just gives them the advantage. That there are things down there that if you don't know how to deal with and you reach before you know how to deal with it, you're going to have one heck of a time. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So there are even people in the vampire community that haven't completely gotten to the point where they are fully in control of their facilities, which means that they're still going through their awakening process. I don't know how many people really realize that. That even, sayings who are like absolute trolls on the internet, and even some Psy that are just trolls. It's like, do you even realize that you're not in control of your own facilities, that you're not completely awakened? There are people that are extreme elitists in the community, and they go up and down about what a vampire is and what a vampire isn't. And I'm like, but emotionally, you can't even control yourself. When you're angry, like you can barely type. And I am no different. My typing suffers so bad when I'm mad. And it used to be that way for several years. And now when I'm mad, I just don't do it. Get up and walk away. It's not worth it. I wish I had someone who could tap me on the shoulder and say, "You're yelling. You need to leave because you're yelling." Because if I'm yelling, I'm really in the wrong place. That I'm out of my comfort zone. I've been out of my comfort zone. Someone in the room has a lack of respect for me and has prodded me to the point where I'm yelling. I never need to yell at people. I should never be yelling at anyone. And that's something I've come to realize, that if I'm yelling at someone, and usually if I'm yelling, it's because there's a subject there that's just been hit too many times for me. And it's usually because I've asked someone not to do something and they're doing it anyway. And it's something that is hurtful to me. That is the only reason I've ever yelled at anyone. Really. It keeps coming up time and time again in my life. That's the only reason I'm yelling at people. So if I could have someone tap me on my shoulder and say, "You're yelling," I could be like, wow, am I in the wrong place? I need to get the heck out of here because I don't belong here. That is probably when I am at least in control of my facilities. I need to be reminded that I'm probably in the wrong place. That I need to remove myself and never come back because there's somebody in that room that I don't even need to be talking to. So I at least have that knowledge, and at times I forget it. But there are some people out there that are completely oblivious to what they're doing, that they enjoy the fight, that they enjoy the barking and the heated pulse and the rush and the trolling. They really enjoy it, and they're getting a rise out of it, and they don't even realize that that's partially sucking energy from people, that they're doing it on purpose. And it's just like, wow, you think you're having a really nice debate, but your unawakened is showing. And that's really the way I feel about it, is that's why I'm not a debater in the community anymore, because there are people out there that are just, it's like, when you have the emotional range of a 5-year-old and not a nice 5-year-old that you'd like to babysit, you don't need to be in that world. You just don't. There's so many more things that you can be learning and more productive doing and more positive things. But an unawakened person will flock to negativity. And that's the problem in the community, is that people don't recognize that there is a difference between people who are and are not awakened. So psychic vampirism, any type of vampirism, gets a really bad rap because it's really not explained that there is a separation. Even sanguine vampires, you'd be amazed on the nth degree that they'll use that unstoppable energy for negativity, when really you could be doing something far more positive with it. Just sit back and observe people in the community sometimes, or even just sit in Walmart and just watch people. It's difficult. It's difficult to be approached by these people and having to evaluate whether they are going to be a good, productive member of the community if you help them. I can't tell you how many people I have helped and been, every once in a while there's just one where I'm like, wow, I really helped, I helped this person and I really regret it because now they are a troll in the community and it's my fault. I'm not going to name any names. There's actually only one that I could ever feel this way about, and well, that's why we have the black veil. We have rules, we have regulations and guidelines, and people often question why they're there. They sound like common sense, and it sounds strange that we have to write out that kind of common sense for people to adhere to and follow. But really, karmically, if you didn't try to follow them, at least to some respect, your life is just down the toilet eventually. There are people in the community that consider themselves awakened, and I'm just watching them make mistake after mistake. Their lives are so terrible. They're so toxic. And I feel bad for them, but there's really nothing I can do at this point. They are people that I have tried to help, and they can't even help themselves. And you just have to let them go. That you have to just be the wiser and to warn other people. And as far as people who leech on the community, which is an entirely different subject, people who, psychic paranormal radio shows, which are not entirely bad, but it's mixing your nuts. They invite other vampires to come on, and then, questions that are meant to get asked don't necessarily get approved. So it just gets to be random what questions get asked, and then there's an entire spin on that interview, and the vamp eventually looks like an idiot. Same thing happens with journalism. We have a couple of journalists in the community that are like, I'm part of the community, and it's like, no, you're not. You are a wart on the backside of the community, which is just as bad as someone who's unawakened, who's in the community. Eventually, these people become such persona non grata that nobody wants to deal with them. They eventually get isolated to the point where nobody will deal with them. I mean, I could name one name, and most of the community members would be like, yes, we know who you're talking about, and most of them would agree. And I've actually seen the person that I'm thinking about. I've seen their YouTube channel, and I've just been like, this person has a YouTube channel. Oh my God. What a mess. What a mess. Oh, in fact, I may actually make a link in one of my groups to help better explain on what an unawakened is, because that's exactly what this person I'm thinking about is. And you can just hear them ranting and raving in YouTube videos and crying, and I'm just like, you sound nuts. Q, Ka-chew for Cocoa Puffs. There are really people out there like that in the community. Not only, I mean, there are people that are Psy vamps that don't know that they're Psy vamps, that are just like normal people walking down the street that you'd never even notice. But then there are also people in the community that know exactly who they are and what they're doing and making some sort of stupid excuse for it. And I'm hoping that this video has helped you be able to understand those differences and who is going to be more responsible and safe in the community and who is better just left untalked to, that you just don't introduce yourself to certain people. And if you have any further questions, please put them in the comments below. And to all my subscribers and the people who prompt me to make certain videos that they requested, my heart goes out to you. Mwah! Thank you for everything.